This is letter dated 12th February 1960. My dear Vardachari, received all your affectionate letters. Utsav is over in full divine grace. Sri Shivmohan Lal had joined the function along with his family. We were grateful to you for leading him to the right path. He also remarked that he found you completely transformed, and the same thing I heard about from other quarters too. The opinion of all these laymen offers sufficient proof of your transformation, and you can thereby infer your true state. It is surprising to note that you feel dejection even in your present state. I pondered over it a good deal, but I could not arrive at a definite conclusion. Then, on peeping within you, I discovered a pool like within, which was widening. There was no condition in it. Now I am definite over the conclusion. The negation started and is developing. You said that there is no evidence of peace and absorption in the infinite, and life has become meaningless. I think, Doctor, you are relating about my own state. I am trying to make you and all others like me. The transmission, as you say, that is, consciousness has taken a deeper turn beyond mental aspect. For an experiment, take some well advanced Abhyasi and transmit to him for not more than 2 or 3 minutes from your own level of present state, and let him relate his condition, but take due precaution so that it is not intense. You say that condition is not up to my expectations. That is right, but thank God that it is coming. Feeling of withdrawal of power means something akin to nothingness. I had already told you when I was there that I do not want to have in you even power, but only its ultimate state. In that condition, the power, when it is required, is there. As a test, concentrate a little, forcing yourself to it, you will feel the power within. I am sorry that your merits are not rewarded by the university, although you are spoken of so highly by the learned men all over the country. Personally, I am of opinion that if we are deprived of all things necessary for the upkeep of worldly life, and in its place the inner life which is worth having is given to us, we are in no way the losers. In the letter dated 15th January, you write that you experience a flow of light power which filled your whole being. I think this experience must be for all convincing that some superior power is at work for your good, and all that is happening is right. On this path, I think the question of changing the outer circumstances does not fit in aptly. It is rather that the Abhyasi has to adapt himself to circumstances in order to practice submission to the will, to the divine will. The divine will is predominant, and the circumstances are the results thereof. We have to learn to take them as divine gift. Of course, I agree with you that it is not an easy job for a common man to get up to it, so the natural limitations appears to be most distressing to him. But instead of worrying over circumstances which are often beyond his control, it is better to apply his effort for mending of his own grosser self. But the difficulty is that most of those who come to you for spiritual pursuit, as they profess, are inwardly actuated by material purposes which they wish to have adjusted according to their liking and taste. If they do not have it, they break off, and even if they have it, they will not stick to it because their purpose is served. It's natural. That is human nature, Dhanavashish. There have been several cases like that. My master's ways of spiritual training are absolutely free from material touch. I know that certain saints do offer such material allurements, and they are often successful to some extent. But it is definite that for this they have to deviate from the right path and resort to unspiritual ways, which for me would to be bitterest pill to swallow. I strictly abide by the directions laid down by my master and shall not like to adopt unspiritual ways in any cost. No, I doubt I try to transform everybody who comes to me to whatever extent it may be possible at that time, for I think it to be my duty. But then something rests on them as well. It is for him to let the transformation work its way. Where this is lacking, the man, though he may at the time be induced to follow the practice, will definitely break off after some time. My difficulties are manifold. I have to take everything upon myself, that is, to discuss and convince, to create craving and constancy, to mold and transform, and finally to keep firm upon the path. But I do not grudge it, provided full cooperation is coming from the other side. It is, however, a matter of pity that in certain cases even cooperation is wanting. What do you, my dear doctor, think of such cases? By this time you too must have experienced that quite a good number comes in without having the real craving. All that they seek for is external or material. Our system is meant exclusively for the attainment of liberation and beyond, hence far away from baser ideals. The same I impart to every one, even from my very first contact, but this takes time to mature into fullness if he is eager for it. Those coming to me without the real craving often lack patience to wait for the transformation to take deeper roots and to work out its results. I am at a loss to understand what to do in such cases unless I induce myself to force everything into them, but that may be a risky process. There is an organization in this part of the country which professes to impart spirituality. It commands a pretty large following, and people who join it seldom break off, even though some of them, to my personal knowledge, are greatly disgusted and averse. The thing, as I find it is that they have adopted unspiritual ways to keep them bound fast, not only by inducements and allurements, but even by frights and threats. But when I study their inner condition, I find not one of them having any spiritual achievement, but only caught up by some material force. You will find hardly one amongst them who is nearer the mark in any way. Whereas in your samstha, you will be happy to note that none of the preceptors, including yourself, has even the slightest touch of Maya in all his transmissions. It is only a pure wave that runs through from him to the Abhyasi. In my opinion, such pious methods must at all costs be adhered to in order to promote piety and righteousness all over. I pray for the making of such noble personalities to work for the enlightenment of the world, and time alone shall bring the results to light. We must try heart and soul to prepare such worthy souls as may be useful and helpful to the future world. It matters little if a few break off from us, because what they have gained during their brief contact will develop in the subsequent life, if not in this one. Thus our labor is by no means wasted or lost. With best wishes, yours Ramchandra. P.S. Postscript. The opinion of your friends about yourself is not correct. Even a developed soul cannot understand the real condition of man like you, because it is not very easy to guess the highly subtle state. Let others grow externally, but we are to come out from the inner to the outer. Sooner or later, your ashram shall too be constructed definitely, because it has turned into one of our objects. A poor hut which is available and accessible is more valued than a big palace which is inaccessible to us. Ramchandra. Thank you.